Welcome back. So now that you've programmed the player controller with Liam, in this video I'll show you how to make animation transitions. In other words, how to get your character going from his idle animation when static to his run animation when moving about the game world. To do so, we'll be using the animator controller. To open that up, simply head over to Window, Animator. Again, you'll be greeted with a simple interface and these colored rectangles, two of which represent our character's run and idle animations. As you can see, the idle animation box is highlighted in orange, indicating that this is the animation the character will play by default. I now want to make a transition going from idle to run and back again. So I'll right click on my idle animation and choose make transition. You'll see a little white arrow appear. I'll now just click on my run animation box and there we go, a transition was made. I'll now head up here, select parameters, click on this little plus sign, and now I can choose what type of parameter I would like to add. In short, we'll be using parameters to get the transitions working via code. You can choose between a bool parameter, int, float, and trigger. For now, I'll just choose bool and call it isRunning. Clicking on my white transition arrow, I'll click on this little plus sign to add a condition stating that if isRunning is equal to true, then my transition will bring me to my run animation. And then I'll do the opposite for my run to idle, making a transition and only getting this transition to work if isRunning is equal to false. We can of course set whether isRunning is equal to true or false via code. So I'll open up the player script you made and create a private variable of type animator called anim, and grab a reference to the animator component attached to our player character in the start function. This way we'll have access to everything related to the animator and be able to tweak the player animator's settings via code. So I'll simply check whether move input is not equal to vector2.0. In other words, I'm checking whether the player is moving, and if he is, then I'll type anim.setBool, and in the parentheses I'll type out the exact name of the parameter we typed out in the animator window. So isRunning, and set that equal to true, because indeed we want the character to transition from idle to run and play his run animation when move input is not equal to 0. If however move input is equal to 0, basically if the character isn't moving, then we of course want to set isRunning equal to false. This way the character will transition back to his idle animation. And that's it! I can now head back into Unity, hit play and test things out, and you'll see that when I move, my character will play his run animation, and when I stop moving, he'll transition back to his idle state. Awesome. However, the transitions didn't feel that crisp and responsive. I would like that when I hit the arrow keys to move, the character will immediately transition to his run animation without any delay. Same for run to idle. So I'll select this transition arrow here and check out these settings. Notably the transition duration setting. This will dictate how fast the character transitions from one animation to another. It's currently set to 0.25 seconds, meaning it will take that amount of time before my character finally settles into his run animation. Now that's a bit too long for my liking, so I'll crank this down to say 0.1, and I'll do the same for this transition going from run to idle. Lastly, there's this exit time value, which is equally important. This basically means how much of this animation must we complete before transitioning to the next animation. In this case, roughly 83% of the idle animation will play, and only then will we wait 0.1 seconds and finally get into our run animation. Now in this case, we don't want this whatsoever, so I'll simply uncheck this exit time box for both transitions, which will get rid of that. But later in the course, we'll take a look at cases when exit time will come in very handy. In the meantime, our character is moving around the world, animated and ready to be given a weapon and acquire the epic ability of shooting fireballs. Something will begin in the next video. Okay, see you very soon.